Part 3, the soul lotus, the gateway to transformation. There exists a sacred space within us that mystics have known for millennia. It's not found in books or taught in universities, yet every sincere seeker at some point discovers its reality. Ramana Maharshi called it the spiritual heart. Others know it as the Hridaya. Two of my master teachers, Barry and Karen, speak of it as the soul lotus, that luminous space in the center of the chest behind the sternum where all spiritual alchemy unfolds. The practice appears deceptively simple. You bring your attention gently, without force, to this sacred center, not the physical heart, but something deeper. That is the soul lotus, and cultivating it can have profound effects for awakening love, alchemizing dense energies, and accelerating your spiritual growth. Barry gave me a mantra that I use every day to open and expand this space. It works brilliantly and viscerally for me, and I recommend you try it too. Place both hands over the center of your chest, palms flat, one hand over the other, and repeat, God is love. Love is everything. I am that. God is love. Love is everything. I am that. Another master taught me to place two fingers gently on the same spot and then imagine an energy rising from deep within, pressing outward to meet your fingertips. When you do this, you can actually feel the warmth and subtle vibration building there, the unmistakable pulse of the soul lotus awakening. What you're accessing is the very source of the I, thought itself, the ground from which all experience emerges. As attention settles into this space, with enough practice and dedication, something remarkable occurs. The observer and the observed, that fundamental duality that seems so solid, starts to collapse. This is not philosophy. It is direct experience. You have spent your entire life believing you are separate from others, from the world, from the divine. But in the spiritual heart, this separation reveals itself as an illusion. Subject and object merge into something far more fundamental, pure awareness itself. This is why Barry and Karen call it the soul lotus. Like a lotus blooming from muddy waters, consciousness flowers in this sacred space. Famous methods of self-inquiry for getting there are Byron Katie's The Work and Ramana's method of persistently asking, who am I? And following the I thought back to its source. You discover what you truly are. Not a limited person struggling through life, but the very consciousness in which all experience unfolds. We cover self-inquiry more in a later chapter. The wave realizes it has always been the ocean, and then unconditional love starts pouring out and in like breath itself, effortless and endless. The best way I can describe it is it felt like the river returning to its source, the ocean, Amy once told me. It's a homecoming. It's the most beautiful feeling to live from that space. It feels like everything is okay. All is well. All is love. The shift isn't something you force. It's what naturally emerges as you do the inner work. As you clear trauma, release conditioning, and surrender the ego's need to control everything, the mind's grip slowly dissolves. You literally feel your heart coming online more and more. It's an organic byproduct of the entire awakening process. As spiritual teacher and author of The Untethered Soul, Michael Singer puts it, there comes a moment on the path when your heart finally tells the mind, thank you for getting me this far. You've done a great job, but now I can take the wheel. He furthered, the mind was never designed to decide what's right and wrong, good or bad. It's a problem-solving tool meant to help you navigate the world, while the heart is meant to feel, love, and connect. When you let the heart guide you, you stop fighting yourself, and life begins to flow. The heart doesn't think its way into leadership. It simply becomes available as the noise quiets down. Where once you lived entirely in your head, analyzing and strategizing and worrying, you start noticing this deeper intelligence emerging from your chest. Decisions begin flowing from a place of knowing with a capital K, that knowing, rather than thinking. You stop asking, what should I do? And start feeling, what wants to happen? The heart's guidance doesn't come as thoughts, it comes as resonance, as expansion or contraction, as a quiet certainty that bypasses the mind's endless chatter entirely. I also used to believe unconditional love meant accepting everything, that truly loving someone required embracing even their destructive behaviors, their cruelty, their betrayals, as if love meant swallowing poison and calling it medicine. That never made sense to me deep down. Turns out it couldn't be further from the truth, as I suspected, as was pointed out to me by Teresa, a master who radiates a frequency of unconditional love so potent it's almost dangerous to be around. At 55, she's the kind of healer whose transmission work can crack open hearts that have been sealed shut for decades. After 4 days with her in South Dakota, where a small group of masters invited me to join them in healing the earth at ancient energetic vortexes, my nervous system was so rewired that I needed 3 days of rest just to integrate what had happened. According to her own account, she's a former ascended master who returned in large part to help repair and reorganize Earth's energetic field, something she could only do once her love frequency reached a certain bandwidth. She doesn't just talk about love, she embodies it with refreshing authenticity. You don't need to buy your rapist a dinner, she joked. It means unconditional love flows from your heart, not from your action. You can love someone completely while giving them absolutely nothing, not your time, not your energy, not your presence. That usually comes with it, but it's not mandatory. There's a story in Buddhist traditions of a king who arrived at a monastery with his soldiers, slaughtering monks as they fled in terror. All escaped except for one, who stood calmly as the king approached him with a bloodied sword. I still love you, and I harbor no hatred, the monk whispered as the blade pierced his flesh. Final words that shattered the very foundation of power as the king understood it. In that moment, the king discovered he had killed a man who was already beyond death, who had transcended the very game of dominance the king thought he was winning. It was a love so complete that it required nothing from the external world to sustain it. This is the most important form of power imaginable. Love that asks for nothing, expects nothing, and cannot be destroyed by anything you do to it. The king, who had built his identity on the ability to make others fear him, found himself face to face with someone who had moved beyond fear entirely. He had discovered what most people spend their entire lives avoiding, that true power comes not from what you can take from others, but from what you no longer need from them. This realization exposes the central illusion that governs most human behavior, our relentless pursuit of external satisfaction. You see, happiness presents itself as a chameleon, appearing to shift colors based on its surroundings, triggered by a lover's touch, a promotion at work, or the acquisition of some coveted object. Yet beneath this seeming variety lies a profound deception. The actual experience of happiness remains identical, regardless of its apparent source, a fact that should immediately alert us to the illusory nature of eternal causation. Those who observe closely will notice this unchanging quality, this fingerprint of joy that remains constant, whether sparked by wealth, romance, or simple pleasures. You know that if objects, people, or circumstances truly held the keys to happiness, they would unlock those doors consistently and permanently, but they don't. The same promotion that thrills you might stress out your coworker. The same breakup that devastates your friend might liberate you. The same rainstorm that ruins one person's day might feel like a blessing to another. Why? Because none of this external nonsense is actually running the show. Your internal state is. Everything else is just giving you permission to feel what you've already going to feel anyway. But really, I don't even have to tell you that, right? You kind of already knew that, didn't you? Yet the masters live from their true being, where happiness is the default. Now, they're not bouncing up the walls or acting like they're on Molly 24/7. They call it being aligned with who they actually are underneath all the falsehoods. It's like this underlying joy, Eva explained to me. This sense that everything's fundamentally okay, even when it's not. Quote unquote, bad stuff might sting for a moment, but it doesn't stick usually for any longer than a few seconds. They experience unconditional happiness. Let's call it happiness with a capital H, the one that is there all of the time. Hold up, hold up, hold up. Let's just sit with that for a second. Because we've all bought into this baloney story that feelings just come and go like the weather. Oh, that's just how emotions work, we tell ourselves. You can't be happy all the time. That's unrealistic. Or most commonly, we say, that's just life. No, it isn't. Or at least it doesn't have to be. Enlightened contemporary non-dual teacher Rupert Spira says that only self-realization, recognizing our true nature as awareness, brings lasting happiness. Lasting happiness. As this happiness is not dependent on circumstances and is the very essence of our being. He said, this perpetual longing for happiness, which can, by definition, never be fulfilled, because that very search itself denies the happiness that is present in our own being now, condemns us to an endless search in the future, and thus perpetuates unhappiness. Spira wrote in his book, You Are the Happiness You Seek. With this knowledge, he continued, we find that our peace, happiness, and sense of fulfillment and wholeness do not depend upon what happens in experience. Instead, it is part of our very nature. The more we stay with ourselves, with our awareness, and let the objective content of our experience fall away, the more we begin to find the peace and happiness that we previously sought outside of ourselves. Not long into my awakening, and at the end of a group healing session, medical intuitive Patrice Christofiak spotted me in the Zoom crowd and decided to give me a quick transmission, maybe 2 minutes tops. I immediately started losing my wits, laughing uncontrollably. It felt exactly like being 16 at my favorite band's concert, surrounded by all my friends with no worries in the world. You like that? That's how I feel all the time, he said with a giddy grin on his face. I genuinely excited when oranges go on sale, like actually feeling joy over discounted fruit. That moment made it crystal clear to me that happiness with a capital H isn't some unattainable spiritual fantasy. It's not only possible, but it's completely doable for all of us and in this lifetime.